Gotta go.
All right, it's 6:30. Let's get started. I'd like to call to order the November 25 meeting of the Harpswell Planning Board. Please rise with me and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have two items on the agenda tonight. One is a matter of old business and the other is a matter of new business. Before getting to that, we have 5 members here, so I will declare that we have a quorum. Matt as an alternate, if you would act as a board member, we'll do that. My name is Dan Hoback. I am acting as chair in the absence of Amy Heibel, but I'd like to have the other board members identify themselves, please.
Howard, you're up.
Howard Levitan, Oars Island.
Lori Rice, Great Island. Courtney Snellings, Orrs Island.
Matt Gilly, Cundy Sober.
And I'm Matthew James, the town planner.
Okay, thank you very much. First item of business is old business, item 23-2-1, Andrew Donnelly. Matt, if you would like to get started with that one, please.
Sure. Andrew's previously come to the planning board and he received approval for a seasonal temporary use of the property. Since getting that, he's had a few events, including a food truck, and hosted a fundraiser for the radio station. He's now looking to move on to a more permanent facility on the property. And that's going to include a little country store and a maker space, which will be a little studio with an attached dwelling unit on it. He's proposing to develop the site with those two structures, a new septic system, and parking. And it will serve as a extension of what the site is used as now, a space for artists and community members to come and share their goods and art. Unfortunately, due to some errors, I and the public did not receive the full site plan for the application. So there were some missing things for me when I was going through and doing my draft motions. The site plan has since been provided to me, and it is in the town office. We have it digitally and on paper. Unfortunately, I just wasn't able to review it in preparation for the meeting. There are some other questions that I will have for Andrew, and we'll be emailing those to him after the meeting. I don't know if we want to proceed with having the applicant discuss anything or move straight on to.
Might as well, we're here.
Well, what is, okay, so you're suggesting that you don't have everything that we're going to need?
No, I
for
would
the meeting?
suggest that in order to give the proper time for review, that we table the application. I'm not sure if you all have the site plans either, but
No.
None of us do.
I have a bunch of stuff, but I don't think I have. I don't remember.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, it seems pretty clear that if we don't have all the information, we can't act on it because the submission requirements are a prerequisite for us acting on it. However, if you would like to talk about it for like 5 minutes, about generally what you have, just to kind of update, because I know this has been kind of a developing plan on your part.
It's evolved.
So if you want to just talk about it for a few minutes, then at least it'll give us a flavor for
Sure.
for what we'll be dealing with.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
So, Mr. Chair, I'm Joe Martin, a civil engineer with Sightlines, and it sounds like the information just wasn't able to be reviewed, wasn't located prior to this. It'd be great to treat this as kind of a workshop. If you could give us any input on the project, so as we move forward to the next phase of this, we can make any modifications before the next meeting. So we're not doing that at that step, if that's possible.
I do have a question.
Sure.
And it may be my inability to make my way through the plans properly. But I believe you have said it's going to be in stages, is that correct? The,
The initial plan was, but the goal is just to focus on what I have in this. Then perhaps someday, something else might evolve, like a farmhouse evolves.
but you're talking about the store and the maker space and parking? A septic right now? I was having trouble figuring out the big scope of the plan because you had mentioned doing it in stages, and then I was like, okay, I'm not sure which is stage one.
Yeah, and I've tried to remove all the other talk of any phase, this and that. It's focused on what I'm looking to build.
Okay,
And that's what we have on that site plan, is 2 buildings, which is within the 2,000 square foot that the state permit has gotten us. And that's kind of what we're designing around. That's the parameter.
Oh, this
And then there was the request for engineered plan, and Joe and Sightlines have done that.
right.
And they've done a wonderful job, and I'm really excited. And I also brought some folks here that, on my behalf, from the radio station, John and Betsy from the Harpswell Radio, kind of celebrity, in my opinion. They make a beautiful, beautiful experience with the acoustic waves, and they were on the site this summer doing retail. They had some feedback. They shared it with me, and if you want to share with the folks that shared with you.
Sure, I can do that.
Yeah. And because I wanted, it's because they're here.
Yeah, okay.
On my behalf. I don't want to,
So when was this plan submitted?
well, it's been submitted sometimes over the course of a year and a half or so.
No, I mean the most recent.
In March, I think.
The engineer's plan?
Oh, no, that was just submitted a month ago. Yeah, just about a month ago. We dropped all the paperwork off. I don't know what was not. I think we dropped everything off, right? Yeah.
So, okay, so I'm John Halpin, Harpswell Radio, and we did a fundraiser on the site for 4 weekends. And we had a lot of very positive feedback from people that stopped there. We had no negative feedback. Nobody complained about noise, nobody complained about traffic. Some people complained about the fact that we were not able to stay for one day that we had planned. We had asked for an extra day beyond the permit because we had already planned a November 16th fundraiser. I did talk to the planning office. They said that they would get back to us. I didn't know whether there was any protocol to be able to extend that. And 3 weeks went by. I did not get the phone call that I was promised. So I came back to the planning office, and it was pretty obvious at that point, no discussion had been done. A phone call was made upstairs, and in 5 seconds, the answer was, the permit has expired. So that doesn't give me a really good feeling about this process. If this site plan has actually been in this building for a month, and it hasn't been reviewed for a meeting that was supposed to be last week, and then postponed to this week, again, that doesn't give me a lot of confidence. I will say that probably 50 or 60 residents of this town expressed disfavor in the fact that we weren't allowed to be there for one day. So I'm sure when more people become aware of the fact that if this is in fact true, that that plan has been here for a month and it has not been reviewed for this hearing, there's something really wrong with this picture. That's my personal opinion, but I can assure you that there are a number of people in town that share that opinion. There's something just not right in this process, if that's the way things are routinely done.
Okay, well, I think I can address the whole permit question for you. Because when Mr. Donnelly came in before us earlier wanting a permit, he asked for a specific permit that is a temporary permit, and what he asked for, we granted. And that's something that has to be done here. So, you know, the fact that was done here and we granted the permit, that was the parameters that he had, and he should have relayed that to you.
Well, he
Because
did,
that's-
when we mentioned toward the end of October that we had planned this event for the 16th of November. That's when he told us. And so that's when I came to the town office. And I don't see why they couldn't have said that particular day, there's no way to do that. That's
I
just
can't-
really bad business.
I can't answer that. All I can do is to say that at that point, when you told Mr. Donnelly that's the date that you had wanted, he could have told you that he does not have a permit for that day.
He did. He said that it expired at the end of October,
Okay,
okay? And that's when I came to the town office to ask if there was any procedure.
well, the procedure would be to come back here, since we were the people
Right,
who
and
granted.
the meeting was not until the 20th of November, the next scheduled meeting. This event was going to be on the 16th. So they said, okay, well, we'll talk about it and we'll call you back. They did not.
I don't have an answer for that, and I appreciate your frustration with that, but, you know.
Well,
at the-
what's really frustrating to me is I felt like we were really shined on. Because it was very obvious when I came back that no discussion had taken place 3 weeks later. I mean, it's a 2-minute, if it could be 5 or 10 seconds on the telephone to say, well, no, there's no way to do this.
Yeah.
It could have happened that day. That's the frustrating part. It also kind of gets piggybacked on when I asked when this plan was submitted, because we made time in our schedule to be here tonight to see how this was going to move along. And in a month, there's not time to review a plan? I don't understand why.
I would have certainly have gotten right on Johnny on the spot if I had known when someone needed it. And if they could have picked up my phone, the phone number's all over everything. Someone could have called me like whenever they realized that, I got an email on Friday at 3:20 or so, and I didn't read it till like 6.
Okay.
But I immediately got a hold of Joe. Well, I emailed Joe, and he got it out there at 8 in the morning. I'm like, before I even knew what was going on. But what I'm trying to do is move forward on my project and, you know, get on with my life, because this is my next chapter. My
Right.
other projects, my other life is on hold because of this. I used to be a world-class graphic website designer, but that's an obsolete thing for me. And so I'm pouring all my creative energy into this town on this project, which I've gotten good feedback and let's go do it kind of a vibe. And I'm right now, because of this and that, I'm gonna be frozen out there trying to use my grandfather's ads to pull through, you know, the organic fabric just where the footprint of my knee-high wall's gonna go, because I'm doing a very ecological approach to it. It's a low-impact design that I put a lot of particular care in designing the way I designed it. I just don't want to be frozen. We're at that point where I'm gonna get frozen outside in negative temperatures, and I was trying to avoid that.
Okay, right, you know, and I know that you have been working with, you have been here a number of times. We've given you a lot of feedback and walked you through what your stages were of your plan back when it was stages. I know you've had a number of conversations with the planning office as well. You know, I think last week when I was in there, you were there talking to them. Maybe, Matt, maybe you can give us an idea of when was this all in a month ago here, or?
I have no idea if it was in a month ago. I've seen the plan a number of times, but as submitted as a final copy.
Is this the plan? Is this?
Yes.
Purports to be the site plan?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I did receive it, essentially in terms of business hours, immediately after I requested it on Friday, and I received it over the weekend. If I had realized sooner, I would have absolutely called sooner. The second that I realized, I sent an email. Our phone system was down on Friday, so I could not make a call. Something about a power outage, I don't understand, but I sent an email as soon as I realized that is missing. Otherwise, I would have sent it out with the full plan. But even so, it was not provided to the public online. In those terms, we really should have those applications fully online. And that is our, if it was submitted, then it should have been put online, as soon as possible, but it was not.
All right, well then, I think one of the things that we would like to hear from you, probably at our study session coming up in a couple of weeks, is to find out what the timeline was, when it was submitted, where there was a hang-up or whatever, so that we can address it and to try to avoid that in the future, because we don't want to have this stuff happen. And the fact that apparently there's been, something happened somewhere, and we're gonna find out what it is. Because we don't, that's not how we want to operate. But, that being said, our hands are tied right now, because without having this material available to the public prior to the public hearing, and questions that our town planner may have about things that still may need to be addressed, we simply can't have the hearing. However, the reason why I've taken the amount of time that I have here is I wanted to hear what the issues were, so that we can properly address them and figure out what we're gonna do going forward, so that you don't have to be out there with that pickaxe in the frozen tundra.
Well, hopefully we get a warm up
Yeah.
here.
Huh.
Who knows? Might be 80 degrees in mid-December.
Yeah,
I was just going to kind of directly answer your question because you had asked about kind of the phasing. So what I'll call the first phase of this project was what you previously approved.
Right.
That kind of temporary seasonal space. This is kind of phase 2, which will be a country store, which is the one kind of on the north side of the page. And then there'll also be a maker space that's kind of more in the middle of the site. There will also be a small septic system put in place for those two buildings.
Yeah, this is all
Yep.
part of this proposal. though.
Yep.
Both
Right.
these buildings
Yep.
are
Yeah,
part of
I
this.
read what you
But one will
had.
be
Okay.
built before the other.
There's an
Right.
existing well on the property that will
Right.
be used to serve both buildings. Mr. Donnelly is really trying to be conservative with the clearing that he's doing on the site. We did go out there and do a wetland delineation. There are some wetlands on the property. He's trying to mitigate any impacts to those wetlands. They're using the existing entrance. It'll be somewhat of a loop driveway, so you come in on the right side, kind of loop around, and you exit around, almost kind of like a cul-de-sac-ish with parking off. I can't remember exactly the total number of parking spaces, but it was adequate for the buildings and the uses.
But I don't think they are not marked in terms of size,
No, it's going to be a gravel parking lot.
right? But I think that has to be, am I correct on that?
There are dimensions on there for the parking spaces, and they were designed to meet the Harpswell ordinance.
The,
Maybe not on
in,
this
in the site plan, the parking spaces do meet the requirements for number and their individual size, stall length and width, and the size for vehicular access around them.
okay.
Yep.
Mr. Levitan?
And we do, oh, sorry, I didn't see her.
If this is going to be the site plan
Yep.
that we would be looking at, you have to make certain that all of the information that in 14.1, 14.2, and 14.3 is on that plan. So for example, the location, dimensions, height of the structures, ground floor elevation of all proposed structures, including expansions and alterations, calculation of the total area covered by all there's a laundry list of things that have to be on that plan,
Yep.
including the dimensions and the setbacks and the sidelines. I don't see it on that plan yet.
All those things should be on that plan. The setbacks,
Which is what
So
the
what is
office has.
what would be
something.
the setback of the retail from the lot line?
Are you saying the dimension, the exact, we'll show the required minimum setbacks on there. If you're looking from a dimension from the building corner to the,
I want to know that this is in the proper setback. I mean, wouldn't we want to note that?
we do show that if you look on the, probably like 15, 20 feet in from the property line, we have a dashed line. I can't remember, was it 15 foot?
20 foot.
Yeah, so it's a 20-foot dashed line, or a dashed line setback 20 feet off the property line.
And is there something that clues us into that?
On the cover
Talking
sheet,
about you have a building area that's delineated by that?
yep. And then we do have a legend on the cover sheet that annotates the setback, and I believe it's labeled on the site plan as well.
Okay.
I will go through
You
that.
think you have everything on there?
Yeah, I'll go through that checklist
Because
again.
Matt's gonna tell us between now and whenever we decide to have that there. They really should all be on the site plan, and that hashtag line, if you have, should be delineated as such. So that we know that is, we don't have to go looking at a legend.
Yep, no, I mean,
Once the
it's
legend's on
labeled,
the-
it's called a 20-foot side setback on there.
Okay.
And like the dimensions where you had said, like the elevation of the buildings, well, there's two elevations. One, the elevation of the kind of what I'll call the finished floor. That would be on the grading plan. In terms of locating it on one plan's gonna get extremely busy. It's, when we do an engineered plan set, usually there's a site plan, utility plan, grading plan. If you combine those all into one, it would be unreadable. So that's generally how we lay those out. It's very common practice in our trade. We also have submitted a stormwater management plan, looking at the different analysis points around the property for increases. Based on our analysis, there's no significant increase in any of the different point of interests. The project is small enough that it doesn't require any type of stormwater permits from DEP, but it does require a permit that's called a Natural Resource Protection Act, NRPA, permit by rule, because we will be clearing within the habitat of a significant or potential significant vernal pool. Because of the timing of when we did the vernal pool study, they can't determine its significance because there's only 6 weeks in May and April that you can determine that. So we have to treat it as significant for the time being. So we will need to submit that to the town, to the DEP. I have not done that yet because I want to make sure that the town planner is satisfied that there's not any major changes coming that will impact that permit. That permit's a 3-week process. You submit it, and if you don't hear anything back in 3 weeks, then you're approved. So it's a pretty straightforward process.
But we don't want you guys to have to keep coming back. We really don't.
Yep.
We like Mr. Donnelly's desire to treat the site with respect, not be, blasting or cutting down the trees or whatever, and trying to be as respectful as possible. And we're really sorry that this happened. Would not be something we would have wanted to have had happen. So hopefully, you can get together with the planner and make sure that everything is as it should be, so the next time we'll be like,
A question for the planner. When's the next planning board meeting?
The next one is let me bring up my calendar.
And the other question is, when would you need final document? I mean, we've submitted the plan. I'm sure we might have some comments on them. And when would we have to get those revised plans back to you?
I believe the next meeting is
18th.
the 18th.
Okay.
Yep.
And if we got your revised plans a week prior? I mean, you have the plans you have now to review. Just timing-wise, trying to.
Yes. If we would like to table it for the next meeting, I'd be fine to work with Mr. Donnelly up until, the week before the meeting.
Well, if you're gonna have a new plan or changes to the plan, I'd like to have a week to see it.
Yeah.
A week to see it, yeah.
Yeah.
So then we'll do the normal, I'm not sure when Margaret, do you know when the
That
deadline,
would be the 11th.
would that be the 11th or the 4th?
She's coming out.
Yeah,
Okay.
The paperwork deadline?
yeah,
Yeah.
the normal,
So it'll be next Wednesday.
next Wednesday.
Can I make a couple of suggestions
Sure.
as you go through the process?
But I feel like we could give it more time.
Since we aren't starting from square one here.
Right.
And they'll meet and get, you know.
Yeah,
Meet, talk about it, and then get a revised plan.
If you want to push that to Friday before the 18th, that's fine.
Yep.
Friday before the Wednesday, I
Yeah,
can look at it
I'm-
over the weekend.
Yeah. Well, I'd still rather have it Wednesday. We should have a week to look at it.
I agree.
Yeah, but
Um,
a week is a lot different than 2 weeks out.
No, I agree, I
Yeah.
agree. Let me make a couple of suggestions. One, you should give us a deed,
A deed?
copy of the deed.
Okay.
You have given us a copy of the purchase and sale agreement, but we do not have the deed, and that's one of the requirements, and
I thought I had that. It is not printed into the package?
it's not in our, it's not in your package
No.
either.
Okay. I don't know why that didn't print out.
Second thing that I thought I saw, if you look at the DEP, the MDOT permit that you gave us a copy of, the MDOT permit was based on the maker's place and a 300 square foot coffee shop. It did not discuss or have any reference to the retail store, the country store. So you need to have, either get them to say, not a problem, which they probably can because it's under 100, it's not, it's a
Yeah.
99
Yep.
peak hour permit.
I've talked to them and about the revision twice. And they get a little testy and
Yeah, because they don't deal orally. They need to deal with it.
Will you get something in writing?
I have an email from him. He's like, yes, okay, whatever it was. I changed it a couple of times and then I got rid of the drive-through, I got rid of that.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Well, why don't you forward that to me, and then I can see if it's adequate or if not, I
I'm
can
trying
follow
to
up with that.
anticipate issues that might come up at the next meeting.
Yep.
It's your own property, you do what you want with it.
Maker's house, Maker's place, has multiple uses. I think you described it as live, work, something. So there's some element of residential aspect of that. Your septic evaluator talked only in terms of residential. For some reason, he clicked that button.
I did the same thing.
In terms of, let me finish.
Go ahead.
In terms of calculating the number of gallon flow that would have been available, and we need to know for the uses and the square footage of the uses, how much that is something that he has made his evaluation of, the need for 300, the flowage, not the capacity of the septic system that he's designed, but why, for each of the uses, that he's got enough septic flowage. And I don't think he discusses that at all in his report, in the application, subsurface wastewater disposal application. So those are the things that I saw when, looking at the application and the drawings. The other thing that I thought I would like to see, and I don't know whether or not it's on your drawings or not, and that is the dimensions of the driveway. particularly the circular part of the driveway. If it's on there, that's fine. One of the things that we have to answer is, in terms of a finding, is whether or not emergency vehicles can navigate the circle. We don't have any documentation from the fire department, for example, that would tell us that they've looked at the design and it's okay for them.
I spoke with him on site.
Again, it's a, what we, if
You
you look at the ordinance, because that's what we have to do. Section 15 has a whole series, pages of standards. Goes from 15.1 all the way to
1522.
1522. We have to make a finding on every one of those standards that, and also there are some standards under section 11 of the basic land use ordinance. We have to make findings under both of those standards, sets of standards. Each standard, one by one, that there's justification for it, and you have to show us in your documentation how we get there. That's what I want to be certain, that when you come back, you have all your ducks in a line, and then if I said that, you know, how do we know that the fire department is okay with the circular thing, the circular
Should I get a
drive?
letter from him?
Letter or
That's-
email.
That would be help, or an email. I'm sure he could give you an email. I'm
Because I've
sure.
already done that, and he's approved it, thumbs up.
I'm trying to anticipate everything that could derail this
Yep.
for yet another meeting. This, I think, is the 6th time.
Well, I had a punch list
no.
of a couple of items, and those were not on a punch list. And you keep adding to a punch list, and it's never gonna finish if you keep adding to it.
The very first time we talked about this, honestly, because I say this to everybody, take a look at the standards in section 15, because we require to make a finding on that, and we need your help to get there.
All right.
All right.
That's all
So,
I
you
got.
know, yeah, so, you know, it's clear that regardless of whether the site plan was here or not, there were enough other questions that still had to be raised. And that's why we took the time tonight, was to make sure that all of those things got raised. So in addition to the site plan, there is some other documentation that we're going to need. And you'll work with the town planner on that, and then we'll take it up at the next meeting.
Yep, no, I appreciate you taking the time, and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be able to know the questions ahead of time to, not saying there won't be any questions when we get there, but you do what you can.
Okay.
So I appreciate it.
Okay. So at this point, I would entertain a motion to table this matter until the next meeting.
So moved.
All right. Supported. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, 5-0. Okay. Yeah, please, as Howard said, go through section 15. Those suckers are really, really detailed in terms of what we have to actually see in terms of documentation as well, so that we can make findings on that.
And having been on your side of the fence too, being before a planning board and stuff, I remember going online and going through all the ordinances. It's all online. Because we're not peacemaking it out of the air. It's stuff that's online, available to the public, that we have to follow.
Yeah, and I've gone through all 5 of them
So
several times.
just trying to help.
No, I hear you.
It's frustrating to go through all that paperwork.
Make sure that we hit them again and get as much stuff as I can from fire chiefs and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, great, and it's nice to see that you've got that after the year and a half that we've been going through this with phase 1, 2, and 3, that you've really got it well defined what you want to do, too. And that makes our job an awful lot easier, too.
Yeah, okay.
All
It's
right.
exciting.
Well, thank you very
We'll
much.
see you next month, I guess.
Okay,
Yes.
good, thank you. All right, going on to new business, item 24-11-02, William and Mary Ellen O'Brider, map 27, lot 97, 9 Goodwin Lane, Orrs Island. Consideration of the board's exercising jurisdiction for an application to reconstruct a non-conforming structure, basically a tear down and rebuild of a garage.
Yes,
Mr. Planner.
to start, small edit on the draft motions, it should be Goodwin. I accidentally put their home address in Pennsylvania, Brookside Lane. So
Oh, okay.
we'll edit that, but otherwise, this is a fairly small property where the applicants are looking to reconstruct a deteriorating shed garage. And on this property, we're constrained by an easement, part of a deeded area of the property that's about 25 feet wide that abuts the garage. On the other side, it's constrained by an existing leach field. And then in terms of the rest of the property, there's existing structures, wells, paved areas, and quite the slope, which those of you who went to the sidewalk will remember walking up that driveway to get there, or up the road. So they're looking to just replace the garage in essentially the same spot, but they will be removing the existing chimney and not replacing that. So that will bring that rear property boundary setback a few feet closer, or a few feet farther away, rather. Otherwise, the applicant is not here, but was Margaret going to represent them?
Yeah, first I thought those people.
Yeah, I did too.
You're acting as legal counsel
They
tonight?
did.
The applicant is a snowbird. So the applicant's already gone south for the year. So I just said I would handle the application, and if there's questions, I'll go back to him and he can come, the application can come back in another month, but I'll be the middleman.
For those of us who went on the sidewalk
Yep.
and were there is no other real
No.
Nope.
practical place to put
Small
this.
on
We
paper.
tried, we kept trying
We
to.
kept trying to juggle
Ease
it
it a
around,
little
we
bit,
thought we
but-
might move it forward a little, but then that ran us into another problem of how they ever made the turn.
Yeah,
And wiped out their access to the house and their back lot. It didn't make any sense
No.
to, sometimes you can't improve on Mother Nature. No, you can't improve on
well, especially the leach
the
field.
the original design of this thing.
Yeah.
And
And using the
It's not
same
getting any
footprint,
bigger
but just
either. They're
eliminating that.
reducing it by 2 feet by
the
getting rid of the chimney, so
Yeah.
Okay,
they're
It helps
doing
a
what we
little,
like to see.
and-
Yep, yep.
all right. Is there, so I guess the question is whether we want to take jurisdiction or whether we would just want to remand it to codes.
I would
I'd
say
suggest
remand
Let's give this to codes.
Yeah, okay.
Totally.
So is there any further discussion?
No.
If not, I move that the planning board remands the application of William and Mary Ellen O'Brider to reconstruct a non-conforming structure on Lot 27 on map 97 that will continue to be non-conforming with respect to required side property boundary setback to the code enforcement officer for processing. If the proposed reconstruction deviates substantially from this proposal, the town planner shall require that the revised proposal be reviewed by the planning board to determine if the board wants to take jurisdiction for review of this application. Is there a second? Seconded by Howard. Any discussion? All in favor? 5-0. It is remanded.
Thank you.
Okay, next. Consideration of the minutes from the October 16, 2024 meeting that were distributed. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes? Do we have to vote on that? Do we just,
I think we do.
Yeah, you do.
We approve it.
all right. I move that the minutes of the January 16, 2024 meeting be approved. Is there a
I second it.
second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Beat Howard in. You got a lot
Aye,
of them.
5-0. Planners update.
Nothing.
Okay.
Wait,
Workshop,
What?
well, we do have a workshop
when,
on the, that would be on the 4th, I believe.
I believe you're right.
Yeah.
Shoot. That's it.
So that is next week. We will be meeting for a workshop.
What time?
Does
it say by chance?
We have an agenda for that?
Do we have an agenda?
What are we doing?
I have a dentist appointment that day.
Oh, fun for you.
What?
Do we have an agenda, Margaret? Yes, we do have an agenda.
For, what's the date?
What time?
December,
December 4th.
December 4th at 4 o'clock.
I might be a couple minutes late. I have a dentist appointment till
Planning
4.
board workshop.
I'll be on.
So I'm sorry, what was the time again?
4 o'clock.
I don't know, yeah, I have it like it's a meeting.
Dr. Mosier?
Okay, so the, one of the things that came up at the meeting last week had to do with if we are approving docks or things like that, that after we get done with it, it goes to the harbor master for the harbor master to
Right.
talk about its effect on fishery. And so there was some discussion that maybe we ought to talk about the, getting the input of the harbor master before we make our determination, just like you get other permits and things.
Or better yet, asking him to join us for a few minutes.
Yeah,
Or just supply information.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we will,
Something.
you know, in addition to what we have on the agenda, we'll talk about that for a few moments as well and talk about a better way maybe to go forward with that.
You know, there are places in Maine that have limits on the length of residential docks,
Yeah,
just saying.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
No, I
whether-
think we do too. You can only go so far and then
Well,
you're
I
kind
don't
of
know
out of
whether
town
we-
waters and into what they consider state waters. I forget what that, I don't know
Well,
what the
but in
limit is.
terms of length of, I keep thinking
Duran.
of people that, you
No, I
know,
think Matt's right, there is a definition of town
Yeah.
water and state
Yeah.
water.
And you can't go out in the state waters, you have to stay within what they call town waters, but it's hard to limit a length on it, because if you have somebody that's on a point, and they got a long rocky peninsula, you know, that at low tide is out of water,
does everybody have the right to have a dock just because they live, they can see the
I
water?
think the way the ordinances
I'm
are
just
written.
With
Yeah, I-
ordinances, I think.
Well,
says-
it
Yeah.
is
It's a God-given
now.
right.
I'm just
I don't
saying,
agree with it, but.
I'm just
the way
saying,
it's
All
written.
you know,
You'd think. that
All right,
What
any
is, they have a
other,
right to a house?
What was that?
I say you would
If
think
it's a
that
house, a
everybody
garage,
thinks it's
a
a right.
dock,
Where on?
a town.
all
Well,
right,
I
any
know.
any
I
other
agree with them.
business?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, I think,
You know what it is or something?
Board members,
Do you?
do we have any other
Gotta
matters
be
to
big.
discuss? Matt, anything else from you? Matt?
No.
Okay. If-
Nope.
If there's nothing else, meeting is adjourned.